Point out that we have a 25-year recognition this year, which is Sharon Jones. And then a 15-year for 4 people, Angela Cornwell, Deb March, Lewis Ward, and Simon Grove. We do have a couple of new drivers, but they're not here, they're still in training. So, as soon as they start, we'll start introductions for you guys. And then I have 14 drivers with perfect attendance. And if you guys take a personal day, I don't count that against you because they're drive now, but it's a game opinion. So, if I say your name, you're like, I was off a day, that's probably because you took a personal day. So 14 of them: Dave Curie, Mary Chandler, Jim Decker, Greg Esser, Susie Galley, Serge Gonzalez, Mike Pine, Cliff Pillar, Dave Kuykendall, Steve Lundstedt, Nora Norton, Randy Scott, Rudy Breckel, and Jim Yamba. We appreciate that. Next is usually district nurses, but she was already here. And then we usually have someone from the employee assistance program, but they're not gonna come this year. Our 2-hour, we already did last week. It's over with for the year, right? And then next up is Lark, and she's gonna give you some reminders about IMRF.
One most important thing is,
Guys, listen up!
make sure your beneficiary is correct. Because you want somebody else getting it. And if you don't change it, there's no changing. Let's see, to access the website, when you get your statement, there's a key code, and you need to use that to register if you haven't.
Did you, are there a lot of you that have not registered?
I've never done it.
Because, I don't know, if you have it there, you were gonna go over and
Right.
believe that you're gonna have to do it.
This that you get every once in a while, they're going to quit doing this. It's all gonna be online. You'll get an email. So you need to go in and register and put your email in there so that you get this.
Register like with the website or register just for that? Cause like I'm registered on the website, but I have to do a separate registration.
Yeah, just go on irmf.org and you can register there. And that's where you can get all your information.
Alright, so it's an additional registration.
Right. If you don't have your email in there, you will not get this newsletter anymore, or that email with the newsletter.
Lark, if you wanna change, your contributions, do we do that through the office or online?
Online.
Really?
The number there is 1-800-IMRF. If you're considering retirement, they have a checklist of what everything you need to do. I have copies of this if you need them. We gave them out last year. I don't know if you still have them. And one other thing, there is the IRMF voluntary additional contribution. I don't know how many of you are in that. You can contribute up to 10% of your earnings, and the form is online to start the program.
you clocked in at 7:03, you're gonna write 7:03 there. If you're requesting a time change, what time would you like it to be changed to? So if you clocked in at 7:03 and you want it to be 7, you write 7 there. The next line's the reason you're requesting the change, or if you're not requesting a change, you're gonna say what? I was late, or the clock didn't work, or what the reason is. And then if you're requesting adding time, you're gonna circle AM, mid, or PM. And then whether you want sick or personal. So trying to make it simple. So those will be in your purple folder. Request for days on. Yeah.
When you said requesting time, is this how we ask for time after?
No,
Oh.
but thank you for asking that. So next up is the request for days off. This is where you're requesting the time off. This is where you're requesting the time to be put into Skyward. These both need to be filled out. There's serve separate reasons. Okay? We also have the bus conduct report. Those will be in there. Those are the same. Repair requests will be in there. UORs will be in there. So your repair requests, you're going to use when you obviously have a repair request for the bus, or if you need some pre-trip books. We're not going to have those sitting here anymore. So we'll have them in the office. You can come to the window, or you can do a repair request, and they'll put them on the bus for you. Right now, on the bus, you have a new book, and you have the previous book to the point that we needed to keep it for. Let's see. I also sent everybody an email, the PDF of all those forms. So if you're a person who can print those, then you have that. I would say that you can print as you go. iPasses, if you need an iPass, not we're gonna have a lot of field trips, but we do have some sports going on, so go to the window and we'll help you there. And hopefully at this point everyone's using the Skyward app. Skyward app, use it if you can.
Are we supposed to clock in for this?
I'll get you plugged in for it. For today, for meetings, typically, I'll clock everybody in and out, so. I would like to have everybody, thank you. I would have liked to have everybody use it, but the other day it wasn't working, so. Alright, so back to the purple folder, what's gonna be in there are all the forms. Also, what will be in here is a seating chart. That's what your seating chart's going to look like. If you haven't seen one, for your routes, for every part of your route. You will have attendance sheets. Look like this. So this folder has 6 sections. We have 6 things that will go in each section. So one's forms, one will be your seating chart, one will be your attendance sheets, your bus list, which actually is basically an attendance sheet, but it's for emergencies. One pocket will have masks. You have about, I think it's 20 adult and 10 child-sized masks. You will have your codes. So that covers that. Talked about that, so I'm done.
Okay, we are going to try to use Skyward to clock in from the parking lot on the way to our bus, so we do not have to come into the building, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, if that is not working, are we then required to come into the building, or can we just fill out a form?
If you get close enough to this main building where you pick up internet signal, you should be able to clock in.
Well, I know you should, but let's say it's not working.
Yeah,
when sometimes
Skyward's
it-
down.
Mm.
You still have to see us though, don't you?
Yeah. So do we still have to come through here then, or what?
Still have to walk through.
Still have to walk through here. I think though maybe what he's thinking about everybody touching the keypad, which is what we're trying to avoid, even though, you know, we have the.
Well, a lot of us do it in here, but if you
Right.
need to see us in the
Mhm.
morning, okay.
Yep, we need to see you anyway, so, and if everyone is down, it's probably going to be easier to have a forum, isn't it? Yeah, cause we unfortunately can't just do it right away. Sometimes there's 3 or 4 of you coming in, so I would suggest they fill the form out. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Clark, you agree? Yeah.
What was the answer?
Fill out a form is the answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, or use the clock if you're not going to be late, I mean, you, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying you can't use it, but if you're getting bunched up and you're one of those people where it's like, I don't know, if I wanna touch that clock after the 5 people who just punched in, we're completely fine with you filling a form out.
Yeah, that clock is not supposed to be working, but somebody took the paper off, right? So we're not supposed to line up there, we're lining up here, and using the, you have hand sanitizer, touchless, there.
Okay, there's some of us that have never hooked onto Skyward. How does that work on my phone? I'm phone illiterate.
Well, we can help you.
Okay,
Yeah, just set up a time to, come in and one of us will help you.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, once we fill out the forms, where do we put the forms? Like when we were at the middle school, where do we put forms?
Well, at the middle school, you still would go in, put them in the bin, there's a bin there,
Right.
and here in the garage, it's the bins in the garage, in the base. Put the forms, there, or you can still stick it here when you come in.
I think we started last year putting pre-trips in all those bins.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, right, okay, so everything now is gonna go in those bins. That's gonna be kinda like your mailbox now.
Repair, whatever, all goes in the bin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dave?
Can we change our password now, since we don't have the computers here, can we change them online if they set that up, so we can change our passwords? They have to
Yes.
update that in the last
Yes,
60
you can do
days.
that at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Phil?
So in the morning, we're gonna come into the window over here, check in with you, and then go right to our bus.
We can still do it on the radio too, right?
Yes. The problem is here, if you're here, you won't hear us or we won't hear you until you back out. And that's why we're saying we have to see you in the morning. Yeah. If you're sitting, you look confused, if you're in the garage,
Oh, no, I
Okay.
got it. No,
We
my,
may
I had
not
hair
hear
in my
you.
eye.
oh, okay. I thought you were like, what are you talking
No, I was
about?
like, what the heck?
So you don't always hear when we say, bus 3 backing from 8?
We usually do, but
Okay.
that's because you're already starting. Most people are already starting to back up.
Okay.
But if you're just sitting in your bus in the garage, we won't always hear that. And you won't always hear us. Any other questions? Where did, oh, there he is. All right, Tyler, are you ready?
Yep.
So Tyler's gonna give a demonstration. We talked in the last meeting of how there will be spray bottles for you. We picked up some, instead of the hand pumps, everybody's gonna have to go like this all the way down the bus. We went to about 15 different Home Depots and got better ones for you. So we're not only gonna use this, but the mechanics will also go through the bus twice a day.
So, these are kind of like your regular little garden sprayer. It's got a little air pump on the top of it. You should only have to pump it about 10 or so times because it starts to get a little tougher, and it's really easy to pump. And it's pretty much automatic. So, if you can use your imagination, these are school bus seats. The mist in this is fine enough that you don't have to linger on it. You don't have to make sure you get every inch. Just go between the seats, and you just kind of go back and forth. That's all it is. You do that in between.
And you two got like the way you're standing now so
Yeah.
they can see the mist.
Very good.
Can you go like that, in between each seat?
It's water.
So, wait a minute, in between the seats, not on the seats.
Well, so it's going to cover everything. It'll hit the
Okay.
window, the wall, the front, the back of the seats, and it'll hit the bottom of the seat where they sit as well.
Okay.
It'll even get on the floor a little bit too, which is totally fine. Completely safe. But yeah, just a quick spray back and forth like that was the best way to cover the entire area where they'll be sitting. So that'll hit all the hot spots and everything.
And don't mess with the nozzle.
Yeah, so the nozzles are already set on all of them, you don't have to mess with them at all. And then just make sure that they all have a label clearly visible.
Do not take the label off. If it comes off, let us know, because if they come in and inspect and we don't have that label on, then we're gonna be in trouble.
Where are we keeping that on our bus? Do you
We
have
were
a spot?
thinking You could keep it in the pocket behind you.
That'll fit in there.
It'll fit in the garbage can.
Oh,
Yeah,
the big
you
pocket.
can hang it up the garbage can.
Not the pocket of the seat, but the other pocket.
They're not terribly heavy, and so after a full day's use, so spraying as you're supposed to, after each route or in between each school and everything like that, should use the majority of this. After a bunch of tests, it leaves about 8 ounces left, so the whole thing should get used. So to get good coverage over every single seat of the 72 passenger bus, and even just quickly hitting the driver area, should use the majority of it. I never actually ran the thing entirely out for as many times as I tested it.
And obviously, it's gonna depend on how many schools you're doing, how many that you're driving for.
And then how do you want to get it refilled? Just leave it by the step and you'll refill it for us, or what?
Yeah, we'll go through and collect them all and refill them.
If you guys could leave it with your pre-trip book on the stuff, that would be perfect, and would help out a lot.
And you want us to do the handrails and,
You do not have to wipe them down.
no,
If
just
you
spray 'em.
spray,
Yeah.
we're not gonna say don't wipe them down, but obviously every little bit helps, but they,
So we're only doing it between routes, we don't have to do it in the morning, because you did it? So you're doing it twice a day?
Correct.
So you'll do it, so we're only doing it between routes, we're not doing it first thing in the morning, we're not doing it last thing at night,
right, so when you come in, it doesn't need to be sprayed down, cause they'll do it after PM.
okay?
And then, even after like your last school, middle school in the morning, they're gonna go out and do it, so.
It's between routes.
Just
Between rounds, okay.
Yeah.
So
So
we
when
don't-
you drop off at one school and you're going to get more kids, then yes, it needs to be done.
I know it occasionally happens, no disrespect, but if you get a trip that's not, a bus that's not pre-trip, you just gotta assume it needs to be sprayed too then.
I would assume, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So then when we're dropping at the middle school, we need to get up and out of the way to get to a place that we can park before we pick up the next, if you're on the fly and you're picking up your next student.
Well,
I guess
we
we can-
usually end with middle school in the morning and afternoon, so I guess maybe.
I mean, in between high school and middle school, or,
Oh,
you know.
okay.
Don't linger over at the middle school and block things up to spray, we're
Right.
gonna have to find a
Right.
safe place for you on your route to spray, okay.
There's going to be some people that have to. If you're doing a 3-tier route, you're probably, and this is gonna require us all to have a little bit of patience, and you'll get into the groove of who you're behind, right? So if that person has to do theirs because they need the drying time on the way to the next route, then, we're just gonna have to wait, maybe do your bus at the same time while you're waiting for them. And we can give you bus numbers too, and we can tell you who's a 3-tier route. If that helps, or you could say, all right, I know why you're sitting there.
Or they can pull up around usually, out of the way enough.
And I worry at the high school how difficult that, honestly, at any school, because there's a lot of parents that are gonna transport. That's why our loads are so light. So I do worry about whether or not, and we'll see, the first couple days we'll know whether they feel that they can get out of there and find a
Are
place
they
to pull over.
adjusting the traffic route because of the additional drivers and stuff like that at the high school with the congestion that is already bad or
They
has
have
been
people
bad?
working on it, so
Okay.
that's what I was told, what's
Oh,
his
no.
name?
Yeah.
That
So it's not
I
done.
can't think of his
Yeah.
name. That
Tim
has
Baker?
security- Baker, Tim Baker is working on it.
And it doesn't take long to spray down the entire bus. It took me less time to go up and down the entire, it took me enough time to go up and down the entire bus spraying it before the trial check went off. So to give you a good idea, I would turn off the bus, turn it to accessories, spray the bus, and hit trial check, and I was within time.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll go as fast as I can, but I'm short, I'm overweight, and I'm old. You're young, tall, and thin.
Might have to go down sideways, some of it.
Give us Jackie's number.
Yeah, have you demonstrated exactly what the spray area?
You wanna do it again?
Yeah, so, you should only have to pump it about 10 or so times. Whenever it kinda gets tough, it should be good. And then when you spray, imagine these are the school bus seats.
Okay.
You just kinda go in between, point it at the window and the wall, and you just kinda go back and forth a little bit.
You can see this
Yeah.
one is way better than those other ones.
Yeah.
I will say the small buses, they do still have the handheld, where you have to do yourself, but it's smaller, we figured that would be okay for those.
What is that stuff?
This is just water.
That's just
But,
No, but I mean, what's gonna be in, somebody, so that's a good
Is it
point, so one of the
contact?
parents comes up, what is that crap you're spraying all over the bus?
So it's, Contact 256, which is made by Gensan, and it's actually a hospital grade sanitizer that is proven to kill COVID and pretty much everything else you can possibly imagine. But it's a viricide and a herbicide, so bacteria, viruses, organisms,
Recommended by
mold,
CDC.
yeah. This is actually what they use in most major hospitals.
Do they want us to have the doors open in front and back when we do it? I mean, for us inhaling it?
So it's actually safe to
Or with
use
this,
in confined spaces.
Okay.
It even says like on the label and everything, if you don't like the smell of it, yeah, you can ventilate, but you can keep the whole bus closed, hose it down, and you're still fine, and it dries very, very quickly.
Okay.
But yeah, and it has a very light kind of hospital cleaner smell.
So you want the windows up when you're spraying this stuff?
You don't need to.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's safe to use in confined spaces, and it's specifically because in hospitals, it's kind of the situation sometimes. So, you don't need to ventilate. If you don't like the smell, go ahead. But there is no requirement for it.
So we're not to leave we're not to leave for the route once we have enough in there to do the spray during the day. In other words, if you get on your bus and there's an empty bottle in there, it's a shutdown.
Yep.
So we can't go anywhere until we have that.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Tyler.
Good.
Real quick, I just wanna say we had, 5 accidents last year, 3 were our fault. 2 speed was a factor, and 1, it was just, took a corner too close to it. And then the other 2, we got rear-ended, so no fault of our own. Not bad, right? Not too bad. GCNs, we're gonna discuss at a later date, cause we usually do those together, and so we're trying to figure out, do you guys, are we gonna have you guys do those on your own? Or are we gonna just do multiple classes? So we're still talking about that, how we're gonna handle that. Important dates that will be in your, yellow folders. Safety meetings, that was published, so if you guys, if you need another one, let us know. But those right now, we're thinking of doing the same way, we're just gonna split you guys up, but we'll record it as well. So, you need to watch it, that would be fine as well. Early dismissal, that will be in your, yellow folders as well. It is double-sided, so, make sure you look at both sides of it. Gulf, as of right now, Matt, it's still going 5 days?
Still going 5 days.
Let me see, some of this stuff we go over every year, I'm sure you guys already know. So I'm gonna skip through it so we can get to your questions. Driver's license, everybody check the expiration of your driver's license. 364 days ahead of time, you can renew. we've talked about radio checks and we just talked about, it's hard until you, start backing out for us to hear you here. We all know cell phones, right? We don't need to talk about that. No use of cell phones, fit for duty, we all know what that is, but just a reminder, if you do go out for surgery or something like that, you will have to get another physical. Route changes, I don't anticipate there being a lot this year, because again, our loads are really light. I think this morning I counted middle school, the largest load was 24. Typically they're 20 or just a little under, somewhere in there. But they are still adding kids. So I need to go to that. So the mandatory driving of AM routes, couldn't remember if we talked about this last week, so it'll be this Monday. 24th, AM is what you'll do. All right. We did have the time to get the buses in order over at the middle schools this year. I don't think we'll be able to do it here at the garage, but we'll do the same thing. We'll have somebody standing outside as you come back and telling you which bay to put your bus in. Dan?
Shouldn't we run the PM route also on our test drive, cause it's gonna be backwards?
Well, I think you guys should be able to figure that part out, looking at the map, if you need a map, let us know. We do the Monday morning, more to make sure it all works together, and since we have combined routes as much as we have, that's why we run it, just to make sure that we're not off on our times on what's really gonna work and what isn't. And I don't care if you go and do it. It's just the paid portion of it is Monday AM.
Are the A and B routes gonna be the same, the same route?
For the most part, they're all, done the same, other than, I'm not gonna send a bus down the street where there's no kid on a B-day. If that makes sense. So we did them as close as possible. All right, last Wednesday, we had a meeting, I think it was last Wednesday, and somebody brought stuff in, to put on the free table. Please don't do that right now. It's exactly what we're trying to avoid, is people touching things, all right? Also, we've made calls to cover field trips, and we've had a few answers up. I don't do field trips, take me off the list. Everyone does field trips. There is nobody here that I hired that said, I won't do field trips, and I said, okay. So, I wanna be clear, I know there's not a big deal this year, but I just wanna go over that, like, everyone does field trips. There was a return to school work flow chart that was sent out, and then a new one was sent out. Did everyone get this? The second one? If you need a copy, let us know, because it does go into detail of, what you need to look for and what will happen, you know, whether you need to quarantine, whether you need to be out for 10 days, whether you're okay to come to work. If you need one, let us know. And then you should have also received this from HR, came on, July 17th, employee rights. Did everyone get one of these? If not, we do have it posted. There is a CARES Act that covers it. If you do have to quarantine for 14 days, there's a form that needs to be filled out. So it needs to go through payroll and they code it separately, so that you're not having to use your sick time. Now, if it extends, you know, if there's an issue, where this extends, it may go into your sick time. But just know, if you're forced to quarantine or to stay home because of a fever, we do have a form to fill out for that. Patty?
And if you're not getting it, I know mine is going into my transportation, into my inbox, and into my clutter.
Yes,
You have to
always
like
check, yep.
Every
Mhm.
one of them.
Yeah. good point, there's butter, there's stuff that's going to junk, so, Phil?
At the middle school, your second tier, everybody gonna fit in there like you did last year?
Yes, and actually, because we've combined routes, there should just be one way of buses now, both north and south. We'll see, you know, those last bus or two from the east side, we might have to swing in it, you know, they might be coming in at the last minute. But it looks like we'll be able to get away with one way this year. And this is not, because I don't want you guys to worry about this, something that we're like, oh my gosh, maybe we could do this again next year. The only reason we can do this is because of the loads. So everything's going back to the way it was as soon as all the students go back. Jim?
Unloading, you said you're gonna unload front to back. Does individual school protocols for unloading trump that? Because at Mill Creek, there's talk that they're gonna unload kindergartners and first graders first.
So, what we've agreed to so far is, we'll run the routes where we pick the students up so that they're loading back to front. When we get to the school, they're to unload front to back. What they do with the students, you know, it's up to them, once they're off the bus. And then,
What if there's a monitor there, what if they're saying that they want the kindergartners and the first graders off the bus first?
Then they
And
need to
some of
call-
them are sitting in the back.
then they need to have George call me.
Okay.
Okay? In the afternoon, they're gonna do their best to line them up in order. And just know that the principals right now are pulling their hair out, trying to get all of this together. What I've asked for is, I know that it might seem like a lot for them right now to line, you know, 15 kids up in the right order, but we'll start working with the students in the order that they need to be in. But they do have to at least review, and you guys need to review this as well, they need to load social distance. So they cannot just all run up to the bus and start getting on the bus and cram.
Well, when
They
high
need to
school,
be, they need to be 6 feet apart, right? So they should be coming out one by one, sitting down in their seat. Like they have to abide by those rules, and we've talked to the deans, we've talked to the principals, everybody is in agreement that, whether it's at the school or whether it's the bus, they have to follow these rules, they have to keep their mask on.
at the high school level, that's what you were talking, they come out onesie, twosies, you know, I mean,
It is, it's gonna be difficult in the afternoon when we're loading.
okay.
But what they do have to do, like I said, is social distance, go directly to their seat as well, there's no goofing around on the bus. And they're gonna be, made fully aware of that as well as the parents, and there's obviously cameras on the bus. We're not doing 3 strikes, you're out. If it's a problem, you're just not gonna get bus service. Right?
Actually, she brought up a good point in the high school, how they kinda come out here and there, so they need to kinda wait outside of the bus.
They can load, but it needs to be socially distant.
Oh, that's it.
Yep.
Mary?
Well, good.
Quick question, so every time we pick them up, they start in the back and fill to the front? That's how it's gonna go, and then as soon as we get to the school, it's from the front to the back that they're let off?
Correct. And when you take them home, we've routed them, you know, the opposite way, so that the kids in the front will get off first. So they're just not constantly walking past each other.
Yeah.
Would you review the 2 sheets we're gonna have to do now? In the morning, we have to check off who's not there. You said on the sheets, you know,
Attendance.
That would probably be, I don't care if it's who's there, who's not there, Matt, does it matter to you?
Yeah.
What's the easiest way?
The easiest is to not.
For doing the attendance,
yeah.
I would think we need the guys
for
that are
when they're
there.
not here.
When they walk by it, Joe.
I know it's easier, Dan, please, I know it's easier for you, but we have to deal with 70 routes, so what's easiest in the office?
Putting an X when they do not show up.
Okay.
Okay. And then,
Alright, so an X when they do not show up.
in the same way, when they load at night, I mean, or in the afternoon,
Mhm.
we're checking them the same way. So
Yep.
there's gonna be 2 sheets. For each.
And that's for contact tracing, obviously, so if a student is, diagnosed with COVID, they need to know who was within 6 feet of that student for more than 15 minutes.
And do you want those in that box? If we're here at the base?
Every
Okay.
day.
After morning and after.
The school is going to assign seats to the students.
No, we're assigning seats.
We are assigning the bus driver.
It's gonna go by loading. They're gonna be in the same seats on the way back.
But you are.
Alright guys, listen up, cause we didn't, listen up, pay attention. So when you pick them up in the morning, it's gonna load, so that's the way the bus is routed. So that they go back and sit down and they'll load back to front. When you take them home, we reverse the routes. So the kids that are in front, you're gonna stop at their stop first. So they're gonna unload front to back. Okay?
So they should know that when they get on the bus, when we're picking them up, then they should know they need to sit in those assigned seats.
Well, you're gonna have to tell them, even though we put it out there, I'm sure you guys saw the communication from me, that this is what we're doing, okay? But it doesn't mean that was communicated to the student. So you're gonna have to do a lot of communicating at the beginning of this year. Scott?
Yeah, so, we're gonna be skipping every other seat on the bus,
Not
correct?
necessarily, no.
Okay. Alright, so, I mean, I guess I'm trying to get the concept, we only gonna have around 20 kids on the seat. We have 2 or 3 siblings, they can sit together, no one else can sit together.
Right?
And can they sit in a row right in front of the student, or no?
It depends on how many students are on the bus.
Okay, so that's a variable depending on.
And you will have a copy of the seating chart.
Okay, alright, without having seen it, I wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm. Dale?
So the seating chart will say, Joe Smith, you are at seat 14. So everybody's name will have a number next to it.
So what we've done is we've ordered, and Pamela actually, not here, but she came up with the idea of putting the magnetic strips that you can write on. So we have purchased rolls and rolls of this stuff that we're gonna cut, so that you can do 1 left, 1 right, 2 left, 2 right. Because it makes perfect sense, if you think about when you load an airplane, how would you find your seat if there weren't numbers up there? It would take forever, right? So, and those are supposed to come in next Wednesday, if anyone wants to come in and help cut. Right.
So their name or the number?
It's not gonna be a name, it's gonna be a number.
Any number.
Dave?
Question for you, in the frequently asked questions in the Geneva School District, it says that gators and bandanas are not allowed, they must have a face mask. So if I get that first stop and that kid shows up with a gator,
It's a write-up.
do I give him a mask or do I let the
You
school?
give them a mask, and you write them up.
Okay.
Yep.
And you are,
Let's
right.
see, that letter shows up.
Right. You are right, or.
A write-up.
Those are allowed.
Right.
So this will not
Thank you.
be an unusual occurrence. This will be a write-up, because they know they have to have a mask on.
Even day one,
Day one.
Day one.
Yes, I mean, we've been going through this since March. There's
Okay.
no way that they don't understand that they need to have a mask on.
Okay.
So we have time to come in prior to school starting to put these magnets up?
Yeah, that's what we were, like, thinking, we get them Wednesday, it could be 2 in the afternoon. So Thursday, Friday, if anybody wants to come in and help, like I said, we'll start getting them cut into, I think we agreed on 3 inches, so it'd be, enough to just write 1 and L on it.
Can we just put them up Monday when we run our routes?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter to us. We're just trying to figure out, how to get done on all of the buses. So that, it is gonna be so much easier the first day to have those up. The kids are confused now. That's the most. where driver's side,
It says D1 and S1, driver side, step side.
which I said, no way, that is gonna be, wait, we're seeing if we can change that. The kids will never understand that. Well, we'll see if we can change it or not.
If we can educate them.
We can, if we have to, I just think it makes it easier.
Is the first day of school gonna be a full day?
Yes. Originally, if we would have started on time, they were gonna do 2 early dismissals the first 2 days, but they're going back full time.
I know that we need to work with the students as far as where they sit, but will their seating assignment be communicated to them ahead of time?
The school will have it, whether they will have time to go over it, I don't know. Most are saying probably, I mean, yeah, you have a new principal at Harrison, if you have Harrison Road, I wouldn't expect it. And you're gonna have to work with the students and we can give you copies to hand out. You know, whatever makes it easier for them to understand the first, you know, but after a week, they need to understand that's their seat, they get down and sit down.
I didn't know if the parents would know this ahead of time or not.
No, unfortunately, it's not in home access, right?
No.
Oh, that's my question. If the home access, they look to see what bus they're on, but it won't tell them what
Right.
seat they're in. Okay.
So the first day of school, when those kids get on, you're gonna have to say, okay, look for this seat, that's where you're at.
And remember, you're gonna be picking them up. So you tell them, as they're loaded, this is your seat, and this is your seat in the afternoon.
Do they know, Mary, that we have assigned seats? Forget about the fact Wynn said, do they know that we're going with assigned seats?
Yes,
But
they have been told that they have assigned seats. We've had, I've had one request where a student just sits up by the driver, that's it.
It's gonna be fun.
So it should, you know, pretty much load the way it's supposed to. If you have a random student that's up by you, there's a reason he's up, he or she is up by you.
And they know, right, not to touch the window, so if they do touch the windows, that's an automatic write up. Okay.
Will all of this apply to with all the special needs routes that you have? Will they all be assigned seats in the same process for everything that's, will it all apply to them also?
But that will be a case by case basis. It just depends on what that student can handle.
That's what a different level.
Yeah. Okay,
Do all special needs wear masks, or is that because they're IEP?
some of them cannot. I mean, just because of a medical condition, they cannot.
But we'll know that's fine when they.
And Matt will let you know, like, if there's certain ones that you need to know, specifically what they can handle, what they can't handle, he'll go over that with you. There are, again, brought this up last week, we do have face shields for loading and unloading and for the aid, but a driver cannot have a face shield on when they're driving. They did come out with an emergency order, we can have, the, hand sanitizer on the bus. So, if you guys wanna bring in, it's been okay for now. Scott?
Yeah, just, you know, thinking of things that are gonna come up. So you're gonna get a kindergartner or a kid who throws up in the bus or whatever, we're gonna have to walk up and down the aisles. Any special protocols we're supposed to follow?
For cleaning it, you mean?
No, just getting up and down the aisles, cause then, you know, we're loading front to back and back to front, so the kids aren't crossing each other. And my guess is we're gonna be going up and down the aisle with students on the bus occasionally dealing with issues.
Well, hopefully with the loads that we have and the assigned seating, I don't see you going up and down a lot, but if that happens, we need to know, because you shouldn't be, you know, I understand if a student, gets sick and you have to.
Or kids crying, you know,
Right.
more the elementary. I know that it happens where I gotta go up and down the aisle too, yeah, where the kids cry, you know? Some kids, you know.
I would say, obviously, keep your mask on.
No, I just wanna know the protocols we're supposed to follow, I can deal with whatever comes up.
If it's every day, then, yeah, you might wanna do a unusual occurrence. earlier, I would say that we shouldn't have to keep getting up and, consoling students. That should be something that the student talks to the counselor about or something.
New description.
So one of the another very strict rule, absolutely no eating or drinking. The students cannot eat or drink on the bus. They don't care what the excuse is, unless they're diabetic, they cannot have food on the bus. Okay?
What about like the middle schoolers very often will carry something in?
No, they'll bring a drink.
They'll bring a drink.
They can't have it.
They can't even bring it?
Nope.
Okay.
That's what I'm being told, absolutely not.
Well, if they have it in their backpacks, stuffed in.
That's right.
But,
The biggest thing is, they can't take
right,
a drink of it. You know, if you
so
talk
if
to
they're
that
walking in
student,
with it, we'll tell them either put it in their
put it in their
backpack
backpack
or leave
get
it
rid of
outside the door.
Yeah.
You know, okay.
Yeah, self-certifying, which all of you guys did last Wednesday. And I just wanna make sure you guys understand, that's one time, is you saying you'll do that daily. You don't have to do that every day. And then, I have PIP on here, but we went over that last week. Just make sure you're not talking about what's going on with someone else and their medical condition. I covered all of that. It is also required here. You have to social distance. You have to have your mask on. I know you guys are excited to see each other, but we can't come in hugging each other and standing right next to each other and talking. I know we all can't wait until that day when we can go back to normal, and I know that I feel the same way. I want to be able to walk out into, the break room here and say good morning, and, you know, if I show up at 5:45, Dave's already here, I'm not afraid because it's in the dark and I'm by myself. So, and I'm sure you guys appreciate too, cause he has all the coffee done by the time you get here, right? I'd love to go back to normal, but soon, right? We went over before what the guidance is. We have, you know, like a 7-day rolling average, and we keep creeping up. I saw this morning, I think we're at 4.3 now. There's always that chance that, Pritzker could step in and say, we're done, you're not going.
We're supposed to be on alert right now, King County.
We're red, yeah, I saw that, we're red. Specific to certain schools, the high schools, the routes are set up so that you do not get there before 7:20. Because they have to figure out what to do with all of those students until 7:45 when class starts. And we were able to do it again because our loads are so light that it made the route shorter. So don't, try to hurry, that's intentional, 7:20, 7:25 is unload time.
So-
Yeah.
When they start doing the routes and that, now you know, there's gonna be a lot of extra traffic. And they're gonna do their routes on Monday for a pre-drive. When we finally start doing this, I kinda think times are gonna change, cause there's gonna be so much traffic. I don't know how that's gonna work out.
There's only 50% of the kids in school.
Pardon?
There's only 50% of the kids in school, and then there's, of those kids, we got an AB schedule,
It's an AB schedule.
so it's really.
50% a day.
Okay.
What's like 50%, 80%?
Well, 40.
Well, I just was thinking about how
Traffic is gone.
it gets crazy, especially at high school.
Hey Mary, do you have any idea when they're done with the bridge? Are they going on the east side?
It's done, I just crossed it.
Main Street?
I just crossed it yesterday.
The Mona Lisa?
I know they're gonna start inspecting the Kirk one. I think
They are
that's,
doing that yesterday,
they're
today,
doing that, okay.
that'll be done.
Okay. And then they're doing some sewer thing on the east side where they're putting smoke in there. Did you guys see that one? I think it's like our first day of school. Yeah.
Just add a little more to it.
I'll send, yeah, right, that's crazy east siders. I'll send that out to the group so you guys can take a look at it.
Mary, I have a quick question about, route bids. If we weren't here to view, when we get our time to bid, are we still allowed to kind of glance at them for a few minutes, or? is
Yep,
it-
you have 10 minutes, so, yep.
Got them online. You know, you can view them online, as far as the elements.
Right, but not the roads and that.
Right.
We'll get the updated sheet again, right? At the end of
Yeah,
the
so
day.
today we're going through everything again, because they have added students. And this happens every year, as soon as it gets posted on Home Apps, those parents go, oh no, I forgot to sign up for transportation. So we're adding students now, and, actually Nora, because she didn't have her students today, is double checking the times. Or what's printed and what's on our bid sheet.
No, I meant when people picked their slots last year, you know, we got the sheet with what's gone.
Yep.
Okay, we'll get that again.
Yep. So that, when you see that come through the email again, either late today or late today, we'll get it out today, so you have time to look at it before bidding tomorrow. Actually, I can't believe tomorrow's Thursday. Anyway, so that you guys can see, there shouldn't be any drastic changes, but I know like if we had a kid on Route 31, but it does add time, and that did happen, so we're just gonna review all of them.
The, any of the field trips, assigned seating, what are we doing on some of these field trips now? Is there any assigned seating for the swimming thing?
We have not, the coaches, who has taken one? Who's taken?
The coaches tell them,
They're supposed to be handling it.
yeah, the coaches are telling them where to go. I have a golf team, which Geneva won. Yeah, they were supposed, so North was
Swimming,
supposed to win.
there's no coach with swimming here, right?
I haven't done a swimming. I'm
Laura, you
going
did a
up today.
swimming, was there a coach?
No.
Oh,
Okay, so that one, yeah, you're gonna have to,
No, it's very
did they
bizarre.
already know?
Got the students sign off on it.
They came out with their mask on, I
Okay.
didn't take them there.
And did they separate?
Yeah.
Okay,
No, they
so,
separate.
so they have been talked to, by the coach. So if they're not doing it, you need to remind them, but I feel like they're taking it, you know, the students, I think are taking this very seriously. So, but we'll see when we get into routes. And you have to remember, they've, again, been going through this since March, just as we have, and seeing that everyone has, you know, to wear that mask, and they want to go back to school. Most of these kids, that's, you know, a social thing for them, so they want to go back to school. So I really think that they're going to, for the most part, behave. And, you know, hopefully we can get through more than just a couple weeks, because if they don't behave, then obviously we're not gonna get to, you know, even a month.
So I guess there's no discipline and say, you up here.
No, but they do know, it's an instant write-up, it's a call home. If you will follow the rules, or your parents will be transporting you. We also have, because I know, you know, it's a possibility that, you know, we could have a driver. You don't know whether you have it or not. If you have symptoms, you have to stay home. So we do have, West Aurora, who, they are not going, they've offered to help. If they need to send drivers over here, if we get in a pinch, you know, you know, hopefully it won't, because we're supposed to be social distancing. We've also hired, again, a couple people where they've offered to let them use their buses, because we have to, when you train somebody for an air brake, that's, basically you go back onto like a driver who's training. So they can't drive, they're no help to us because of the air brakes. So they and Spare Wheels, since they're not doing field trips, have offered hydraulic brake buses. So we but
So what did they, what did they do with those folks, like in U 46 and North Aurora, what did they do with the drivers?
I'm not sure what U-46 is doing. I can tell you a story I heard though from their director. Their union, when they decided that they weren't going back, they wanted to negotiate whether it's, 3 hours a day for everyone. I think they got up to 4 hours a day, and the union said no. They want 5 hours a day for everyone. And so administration said that, forget it. It's unfortunate. Because the last thing we want, honestly, the last thing we want is a divide right now between employees and administration. Believe me when I tell you, literally, principals and administrators are pulling their hair out, trying to make this work and trying to keep everyone happy. I'm sure you guys see, like, it was a win-win to put those routes together, so that we have more 3-tier routes, and we're able to do it to keep, you guys at the level, that you were the year before, at least very close to that. So, it's all we can do right now. I don't know, I've asked again, if we shut down, I don't know what's going to happen. I know that they said, workers will at least have to show up. It's not going to be sitting home getting paid, unless the governor shuts everything down, and we go back into full stage 3, what was it? Was it stage 3?
Lockdown.
Phase, I don't know.
Phase,
I don't know.
Oh, it's 2 or 3, but anyway. So that's where we're at right now.
Mary, did you mention if the student is off the bus more than 3 days?
I did not.
Yeah.
That's another one. So we've heard, especially at the high school level, that parents are just saying yes to transportation, but they have no intention of putting their student on the bus. So if a student is not there more than 3 days, we wanna know, because we're gonna call and we're gonna tell them that student is being taken off the route.
You're gonna know it by the sheets when you turn it in, right?
I don't know if we're gonna go through every single one of them. That's
So
more
we
for-
should let you know
Yes.
then.
Cause that's more for contact tracing, if IDPH comes to us and says, oh, you have one, who was on that bus, we can pull the sheet out, on that day, these students were on the bus. And this is how they were seated on the bus. Leslie?
Well, as part of that, though, that won't apply to special needs kids, so those kids take off 3-4 times, then they go for 2 days,
Correct.
they take off, so.
Does not apply to special needs kids. It's definitely not David Van Fleet, right? Who's the other one? I got first day of school, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Patty?
Okay, so Leslie's bringing it up, I've heard so many rumors that, so Leslie is driving, but his children are sick. So he stays here and he becomes a sub, and you don't get the choice of going home. Like you don't
No.
have your pay.
No, at this point, no, and that's because we don't know yet, like, I could have drivers come to me next Wednesday and say, I thought about this and I thought about this, I can't do it. So at this point, if you're not driving, whether it's because your kids are sick or your kids want remote, you'll be considered a sub.
Well, that's what I heard, and I heard it was.
And your times will be adjusted to a more realistic time that you could help us, like 6:30 to 8:30 or whatever your time is. It will be a little, adjusted a little bit. Leslie?
And then on routes too, I noticed, I don't know if the drivers notice, in a lot of these, where kids are counted, like there's 3 or 4 kids, 2 or 5, whatever. But, and it also says on there that the parents are taking them indefinitely. So that means that if you have 2 kids or 3 kids that are not there on your route, you still have to come in and stay here. Alright, because on the routes it says that those students are not riding, the parents are taking them home, but they're listed as stops. So if you don't, you still have to come and stay.
And we did that because, we tried to keep the bidding as close to as possible to last year. Again, So we know the giant step kids are not going, but we felt it wasn't fair for someone, like to just take that out of the mix. Stay in there, you guys should get spin on it, but you do need to know people how to use sub. Now, you guys, I'm sure most of you have been here long enough know that if you're helping subs are going first. Cause that's what they signed up to do, and they do it well, that's why they sign up for it every year, right? If we need you, we're gonna have you go with them, so say somebody, they're on a 14-day quarantine, you're gonna go with the sub and learn the route, and then you'll take it over. Right, I'm not gonna just say, go do this route, unless it's really easy. So at the middle school, they're telling us now, don't wait till 8:15 to unload. But there shouldn't be any buses there early. Again, you're all scheduled between 8:15 and 8:20. If you get there at 8:13, 8:14, they're saying just unload, because they don't want all of these kids all at one time. But don't race and get there at 8:10.
What about the elementary school?
So the only elementary school that has contacted me is Williamsburg, and they are going to unload one bus at a time. We're gonna have to wait for them to unload, but again, the loads are small, it shouldn't take that long. But don't be surprised, my guess is if Williamsburg is doing it, the principals all talk and then they think like, oh, okay, yeah, that's the way we'll do it. It doesn't mean they're not doing it that way, they may just assume that Williamsburg told me that they're doing it that way, so I know that they're all doing it that way. So, could happen. Any other questions? That's the specifics I have right now about each school. Steve?
Yeah, get back to this window thing. This is the obvious question, I didn't need to ask it, but if it starts to rain, and you don't want the kids touching the windows, and I can't pull over.
You can direct them
Okay.
to put the windows up, and they're kids, you're gonna need to be very specific. This one time, because it's raining, you can put the windows up, right? You have to be very specific though, they're gonna be playing with the windows.
That's a silly question, but I mean, yeah, if you shut off the bus and, with a broom, I can do it in a minute.
No, don't do
No.
that.
Yeah, right. Then you get soaked.
It took a long time to get people to stop doing that here.
Counter saying this, usually when you have the, elementary kids, even though they have their assigned seats, they love to just kind of put their feet in the aisle there and talk to their neighbors. They're not allowed to do any of that anymore then.
They have to stay. I mean,
Exactly, yeah. It's really gonna be tough on them.
yeah. As long as they're in their seat facing forward, they're not sitting on the edge of the seat, I think they're gonna be fine.
Okay.
But the problem is any bit of leeway, and they're gonna run with it, so. I think you're gonna have to start out as we do with most years, start out strict, you can always get easier. Yeah,
Do you think it would be to our advantage to have all the kids sit next to the window, or would it be best to stagger them, one in the aisle, one in the window, the next one in the aisle,
we'll have a seating plan.
So
We'll
they
figure
will
it out.
designate a space in the seat, you will designate
Yeah, we'll
space
have
in the seat for them to sit. Okay.
Hopefully they won't be leaving their stuff on the bus, their bags.
quick reminder though when they're getting off,
Yeah.
take your stuff. All right, do I have any more notes on here? I told you about the magnet, I told you about West Aurora, that's all I have right now. Do you guys have about anything that we talked about today, Julie?
Well, that's a good question Jackie brings up. So when they do leave stuff in the bus, now what are we going to do with that?
gonna depend, do you have another school that you're going to? You wanna go pick kids up, do you have to move it?
But I mean, with the pandemic, we leave it on the bus now?
Yeah.
Is the question.
Can we just put it on the empty seat behind us?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're wearing gloves the whole time.
No, I don't recommend it, and like I said last week, because it gives you that false sense of security, that you can touch whatever you want, so then you're touching this, and then you're going like this.
Yeah.
So, do we have gloves? Yes. You know, if you feel that you need to wear gloves, we have them.
And Louis, you'll find model of that one.
Any other questions? Do you guys, anything I missed, you guys? Tyler? Anything? Mike?
I can really think of offhand.
Lauren, Jackie, Matt, nothing?
No.
I wonder, as a sub.
Thanks for coming.
Hey, real quick, so, about the radios that we're gonna be getting.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting the
So,
radio?
well,
Listen out, guys.
so real quick before you guys leave, me and Mike are gonna be getting radios, and that way we can hear and communicate while we're in the shop. So it's gonna be pretty much similar to your calls now. We're not gonna take repair requests over the radio. But if you need something that's a downing discrepancy, such as a tail light or something along that nature, you can call that in now and we can run and try and get it fixed so you're up and you can get on your route as normal. But call it in, the sooner the better. Also, DEF, you can now just talk straight to us. So we'll have those, I don't know when Jim Gunn's coming to bring the radios, but they'll be here before the school year starts. So that's something to keep in mind, because it gets really complicated when the office has so much stuff to do, they can't really be a middleman for us as mechanics.
So when we call in, we just call in and ask for you?
Yes,
and do it?
you can ask for a shop or
Just
garage.
call for the shop.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that way, it just takes us out in the middle of it.
Mhm.
We're really, we'll just go betweens anyway. We had a big discussion about communication and how we're gonna handle all of these changes. And that's one of the things, it's like, you know, there's no reason for you guys to call us, cause all we're gonna do is call them.
And we have a radio in the truck, and then we'll have personal radios on us when we're here in the shop too. So, say an emergency happens, we'll also have radio communication when we're out on the way to a crash or a ditch or whatever may happen.
And then obviously, if they don't answer, we're still gonna step in.
Yeah.
Jim?
Bid time's the same that you
Good
sent out
times,
a few
I'm
weeks ago?
saying. I know, we had a few people leave, but, and it happens every year, and we leave the bid times the same because it just gets too confusing.
Just curious how many people left.
So far, I had 2 aides that have left, and I had 2 drivers. Oh, wait, 3 drivers, sorry, 3 drivers. Yeah, Stu, Cliff, and, Greg. Greg Mittman.
Who's in third?
Two more. Greg Mittman. And Cliff.
So Cliff just started. So